Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Muhammad ALIF AIMAN bin MAZLAN and my matric number is 2013928841 and I will present about assignment 1B. So, for this assignment, the scope of this assignment is to analysis of path loss with different antennas and environments. And the objective is to analyze the impact of distance and antenna gain on path loss and receive power by different antennas in different propagation environment. First, we need to know the propagation model. There are three propagation models, that is urban, suburban, and open rural. For urban, it predicts how radio waves or electromagnetic signal travel and weaken due to buildings and obstacles. It helps design wireless network for reliable communication by considering factors like path loss, multipath propagation, shadowing, and frequency dependency. For suburban, it predicts how radio waves travel in areas with a mix of buildings and open spaces. They optimize wireless network for reliable communication by considering path loss, reflection, and scattering from structures and vegetation. And for open rural, it predicts how radio waves travel in unconstructed, sparsely populated region. They help design wireless network for extended coverage, enabling communication services in remote area. And in this assignment 1B, I have been using three antenna. That is first, monopole antenna, second is microstrip antenna, and the third one is Yagi-Uda antenna. First, we need to know the monopole antenna. For the antenna gain, since half-wave dipole has a gain of 2.19 dBi, a quarter-wave monopole will have a gain of 2.19 plus 3, that is equal to 5.2 dBi. For the radiation pattern, a radiation pattern resistance of 73 ohms. For the total radiation resistance is about 36.5 ohms. Next is microstrip antenna. The antenna gain for this microstrip antenna is a single patch antenna provide a maximum directive gain of around 6 to 9 dBi. And for the radiation pattern, it have a broad radiation pattern with maximum radiation typically in the broadside direction. They may exhibit side lobes and can be designed for various polarization and beamwidth to suit specific application requirement. And last is the Yagi-Uda antenna. The antenna gain for this is it has moderate to high gain of up to 20 dBi, depending on the number of elements used, and a front to back ratio of up to 20 dB. For the radiation pattern, the minor lobes are suppressed and the directivity of the major lobe is increased by the addition of directors to the antenna. For input parameter for this assignment 1B is first, the operation frequency is 900 MHz, the distance is between 1 km to 20 km, the transmitter height is 77 and the receiver height is 7. For the transmitting power, it fixed at 30 dBm, and for the antenna gain, for the monopole antenna 5.2 dB, for the microstrip antenna 9 dB, and for Yagi-Uda antenna 21 dB. Here is the graph for link power budget versus distance for urban. As we can see, the lowest is on monopole to monopole. That is on for the distance 1 km. It is around 75 -75 dBm. Then when the distance goes up, then the power received will decrease. And for the max, for the distance 20 kilo, we can see that for monopole to monopole, the power received is around negative 15. And we can see that the highest one is on Yagi Uda to Yagi Uda. That is when the distance is 1 kilometer, it is around negative 40 dBm. And while for the 20 kilometer distance, Yagi Uda to Yagi Uda is around negative 70 dBm, the power received. Next is the link power budget versus distance for suburban. We can see that for the suburban, the power received is a lot higher because it has less it has obstacle, but it has less obstacle than urban. We can see that for the lowest one is monopole to monopole, the red one, and we can see that for distance kilometer is 1, it is around negative 60 dBm, and it will go slower for when the distance is increased. The power received will go decrease. And while for the 20 kilometer distance, the power received for monopole to monopole is around negative 90 dBm. While for the highest one is Yagi Uda to Yagi Uda, that is for 1 kilometer, it is around negative 25 dBm. While for the 20 kilometer, it is around negative 55 kilometer, negative 55 dBm. Next is open rural. As you can see here, there are different graph on this open rural compared to the previous one for urban and suburban. For open rural, it has less obstacle. That's why it has a relatively high power receive. But it is also the same when the distance is high, the power receive will become lower. As we can see here, the lowest one is when monopole to monopole. For distance 1 kilometer, it is around 70 dBm, while when it's 20 kilometer, it is around 40 dBm. Well, for the highest one is when Yagi Uda to Yagi Uda. When distance is 1 kilometer, the power received will be around 100 dBm. While the lowest one for Yagi Uda to Yagi Uda is when the distance is 20 kilometer, and the power received will be around 70 dBm. The next one is free space path loss, FSPL. As we can see here, this graph is actually decreased, but because of its scale for power receive is high, then we can't really see the decrease, but it is decreased a little bit. So we can see here that the lowest one is monopole to monopole is when the power receive is 30 dBm, and when the distance is 20 kilometer, the power receive will be around 25 dBm. Well, the highest one is when it's Yagi Uda to Yagi Uda. When the distance is 1 kilometer, the power receive in dBm will be around 70 dBm, and it will go slower to when 20 kilometer, it will go slower to around 60 dBm. This is the comparison between urban and FSPL. As we can see, the urban have a lot difference in power receive compared to the FSPL. It is because urban has a lot of obstacle and buildings. For the suburban versus FSPL, it is also relatively lot of difference between the two graph. That is, for suburban, the power receive is still on negative side, and the FSPL is on positive side. It is also because of the suburban have a relatively high of obstacle and building. But for the open rural versus FSPL, you can see that it has a greater power received than the FSPL. It is because open rural is a open space and it has less obstacle and building. That's all from me. Thank you.